Pixel 7 Pro has been out now for a month or so, and I've been using it almost every single day for the past month. And this is usually how this works. You grab your credit card, get on that website, and place that order, and as a YouTube reviewer, just hope that nobody else gets the phone in the world before you do. You then get that phone delivered, unbox it, and put out a quick video about how good that phone is that you've just unboxed. Then you use it for a couple of weeks, and then that gives you enough time to say how good you think that phone is, do a final review video, package it up, send it back, and never see it again. But the Pixel 7 Pro has really changed the way that I do this, because this phone is one for keeps. Okay, let's start straight away by saying that the only Google phones that I've really used over the past couple of years are the 3A and the 4A and the 6A. So I've never really had like a great benchmark for Google phones because I've never used any of their flagship devices. But this year I wanted to change it up and just go full Google and see how I could cope, because I use iPhone all the time, every day. But can Pixel kind of stack up to it? Well, let's have a look at what the Pixel 7 Pro gives you first of all. And the display of the Google Pixel 7 Pro is really good. 120Hz, 6.7 inch display, and it's a fantastic display. Then on that display we have that cutout for the camera, the selfie camera. And I prefer this selfie camera, this kind of hole punch cutout, over that of the 14 Pro Max. That dynamic island does nothing for me. It's an island that I would hate to go on. But this with the hole punch cutout I feel works much better. It's less intrusive and just kind of hides away at the top of the display. And I have to say that when you're watching content on this, so if you're on Disney Plus, you're on Netflix, you're on YouTube, that 1440p display is fantastic. Colours are vibrant and bright, and like I said, that 120Hz makes scrolling through this, just watching stuff, it just makes it better, and I really enjoy it. But you already know about the specs of the phone because there's 1,000 videos out there already that will tell you about the Pixel 7 Pro's fantastic specs. But what is this phone like to use every single day for that price? Well, let me tell you. First of all, that Tensor G2 chip is phenomenal. Opening and closing apps, multitasking, doing everything that you need to do makes this phone so quick. And it doesn't seem like, for me especially anyway, that it hasn't lagged in any way at all. It's snappy, it's responsive, and you don't even have to think about anything. It just works. And I think with this G2 chip, I know it's probably not the best chip out there for a phone. You've got your Snapdragons, which are maybe a little bit better, but I just don't think that you're going to be using this phone going, oh, I wish I had a better chip, because no one really cares. As long as it works, no one really cares how good or how powerful a chip is. It kind of just comes down to what you like when you're using it. The one thing that I was a little bit unsure of, is because I've never given it enough time, was Android. Like, just using Android. I always think it was always a bit claggy and a bit like rubbish, but it's not. Android 13 is fantastic. It does such a good job of being optimized. It's obviously that perfect match. And like I said, coming from iOS, I did think it wouldn't be great. I thought it'd be a little bit more unfinished, but it just takes a bit of time to get used to it. And because I've used iOS for so long, I know where everything is, but now I know where everything is on Android 13 as well. And this works better. I prefer Android 13 over iOS 16. It's not buggy, it's smooth, it's quick, it's responsive, it's everything that an OS should be. And with that Android 13 you get some really good AI functions as well. So for example, you get maybe the best text-to-speech ever on any phone ever. Like, it's so much better than Siri. In fact, it puts Siri to bed, tucks it in, and says good night with how good this is, because it doesn't miss a single word. No matter how fast or how slowly you speak, it gets every single word. And then you get what I think is the most underrated lock screen feature ever, and it's the now playing. So it can listen to what is around you, so you don't have to go and use things like Shazam. But with the Pixel, you can have it just lay there on the lock screen and it will tell you exactly what is playing, which I think is such a good feature. And then in things like photos, you've got that magic eraser as well, which is just unreal. You then got unblur as well, so if photos don't quite go as planned and you're a little bit rubbish, a bit shaky hand, you can go in and you can unblur a photo. But what is Pixel most famous for? Well, it's its cameras, and I'll be honest, they're pretty good cameras. Like, they're really good cameras. With camera specs now, I don't think they're as important as maybe they used to be, but if you want to have a look at it, this does have that 50 megapixel main, that 48 megapixel 5x zoom, and that 12 megapixel ultra wide. And I say this on every single one of my videos, I am not a camera guy. I don't take that many photos, so there are better reviewers out there who will talk to you about the cameras of this phone. But what I can talk to you about is how I use it as an average, kind of like everyday user. Every photo that this Pixel takes is so accurate to what like I'm actually seeing in real life. So the colors are right, the dynamic range is right, everything just seems right. It exposes really well and it gets those low lights and highlights pretty spot on. But that zoom is by far my favorite thing on this phone. So from that main camera going all the way up to 30 times zoom. And of course, if you go to 30 times zoom, they're not going to look amazing, but if you have a look, they look pretty decent. But there is one thing that slightly lets the Pixel down, and this is the one thing that really stops me from switching permanently, and that is the video on the Pixel 7 Pro. I like to take a lot of cinematic video and regular videos like with my iPhone, so when I go on holiday I like to take those cinematic videos, but sadly the Pixel 7 Pro doesn't quite live up. When I'm taking videos it seems to kind of lag and it comes out a little bit choppy, and then when we have a look at portrait video, I've got to say it's not bad, but I'm comparing this to that 14 Pro Max, and in comparison for me, the 14 Pro Max cinematic mode looks much better than the portrait video mode does here on the Pixel 7 Pro. But the biggest problem I think with video is when you're moving around. So if you're static, cool, like the video looks unreal, but as soon as you start to do a bit of movement, that's probably the biggest letdown of this year's 7 Pro, because that's when the video doesn't just look as good, stabilization's not as good, and this might be small little things that I'm picking up, but it's a big thing for someone who uses the camera to take video all the time. Having said that though, I love this phone, and honestly, it's one of these phones now where I'm really struggling to not want to use it. It's difficult to pick between iOS and the iPhone 14 Pro Max and Android 13 and that Pixel 7 Pro. Maybe the biggest thing that's stopping me from switching, which maybe sounds a bit weird, but it's Android Auto and CarPlay. CarPlay is so much better than Android Auto, and I know it's got an update, but it still doesn't quite live up to what I want it to be. The one thing about the Pixel 7 Pro though is that it feels different, and it feels more exciting than having an iPhone. You can customize it more than you can most other devices, and maybe that is the selling point for Android for me. Having that Pixel Watch and the Buds Pro as well really help with making to switch over, and it's £850, which for me feels like an absolute steal, especially when you compare the prices of that and some other high-end Apple phones. I think that you are getting a really good deal, and I think this year Pixel, Google have absolutely knocked it out the park with this 7 Pro. I think the 7 Pro, and it might sound a bit dramatic because I'm using it, but it's probably one of the best phones that I've seen in the past couple of years. Camera's good, display's good, it sounds great, battery life is a good thing, which I forgot to mention by the way. Battery life a day, absolutely easy when we're using the Pixel 7 Pro. If you want a good, exciting, fresh phone this year, don't go Apple. Go with the Pixel 7 Pro, because that easily is the phone of 2022. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel, because it massively helps. Like 90% of the people that watch these videos aren't subscribed to the channel, so if you subscribe, that's really useful. And if you do that, then I'll see you later.